Hello, hello. Welcome to our Coach Pony podcast. I'm Christie, the founder of Coach Pony, and I am here with the lovely Bobbi Palmer, the founder of Date Like a Grownup. And we like to think of ourselves as your virtual business hug. And so we're so excited to be with you today on this podcast because it's so much fun, not only to go live, but to also go live with our community. And we are here to answer your burning business questions. So I can't wait to dive in. And the theme today is all things group coaching, but we are here to answer any business questions. So chat them in the comments if you're joining us live. And if you're not, you're always welcome to come back and post a question for us later, and we'll consider adding it and answering it in the next live video. So that is the way to reach us, or just chat in and say hello, and we can pull you on the screen like this. Hello. All right, Bobbi. So I want to dive in. Bobbi, first of all, feel free to say hello.
Good morning. Good afternoon. It's afternoon
Good day.
here. I'm so happy to be here.
So let me back up. Bobbi and I, of course, are both built a lot of our coaching businesses around group coaching. So this is a modality we both love. We've absolutely done private coaching, and at times, in fact, right now, Bobbi's business is more focused on private than group. But we've both built all sorts of group programs, low touch, like $27, $97, high touch, $5,000, $7,000, middle, $2,500, all of the above. So we have a wealth of experience. And so we got some great questions, Bobbi, and I wanted to dive into them. So the first question is, which is better, group coaching or private coaching? Is one better than the other? So this is so fascinating. Can I answer this one first?
Please go for it.
All right. I love group coaching so much. I'm obviously so excited. So for me, the answer to which is better, group or private, is, of course, it depends. And what it depends on is your goals for yourself and your goals for your business, because each modality, private and group, has pros and cons. So private coaching is more lucrative right out of the gate for most coaches. And I want to just unpack why very briefly. The reason why it can be really lucrative early on is you only need your computer and a phone, and very little infrastructure to run a one-on-one coaching business. You don't need software, like tons of tools, customer support, or things like that. And you don't need very many clients at all, and you can take clients at any time. So if you charge, let's say $3,000 for a 10-session package, which is relatively common, and you sell 2 in a month, you've made $6,000 that month and $72,000 for the year, and you only need 24 clients to get to that. And so over the course of a year, 24 clients isn't that many. So it's very doable. If you run a group program, on the other hand, and you sell seats for, like, let's say $1,000, you would need 72 clients to make that $72,000 and make the same number as you would in one-on-one coaching. And so obviously that's a lot more people. Now, the pros of group coaching are that it's incredibly scalable. It's just as easy to have 10 clients in a program as it is to have 12 or even 20 or 50 sometimes, depending on how you structure it, because they're all coming to that same group session. So you don't have to have that individual time with each of them, and you only have so many hours in the day. So I've personally built group programs with literally thousands of clients in them. And so you can see how that income adds up without me really having to work very much harder at all. So there's a huge amount of both flexibility in regards to time and scalability and income with group coaching that you don't have in private coaching. I could not have served 7,000 paying one-on-one clients the way I can serve 7,000 paying group coaching clients in my business. So wow, I went on a long rant. Bobbi, what's your answer to this question?
My answer is, I think starting with one-on-one. I like one-on-one coaching because it is very personal. I really enjoy the high touch. However, building a group coaching program has a lot more content sort of upfront. And what I learned from private coaching is what I applied to my group coaching curriculum. So I like the idea of private coaching, and we'll talk about this a little more. I like the idea of private coaching because, again, number one, you get that high touch and you really, really get to know people. And I enjoy that. That's why right now that's what I'm focusing on. I really love getting really deep with individuals and helping individuals. Financially, uh, like you said, there's less work. I mean, let's face it, there's less work to private coaching. Like you said, all that technology, dealing with more people, all that. You don't need to invest maybe in an assistant, or other tools that you might not need, right? So I kind of like that. But again, the idea, I love group coaching, though. I have to tell you, group coaching gives me energy. It's like
Yeah.
what we're doing right now, right, Christy?
There's a lot of
This is
energy in the
like,
community, which I think we both really very much enjoy. And while I personally have a
mhm,
large tech stack in my business, clearly because I run large scale group coaching programs, once you set it up, you do have to maintain it, but it's not like you're constantly reinventing the wheel. So that is another
right,
advantage in the group coaching. Bobbi,
right.
we actually have a great question coming in. So let me pull it on screen
Yes.
and let me read it. It says, what are the pros and cons of doing group coaching with a business, so B2B, versus group coaching of independent participants, which is B2C?
Mm,
So, what are the pros and cons
interesting.
of doing group coaching with a business B2B versus group coaching of independent participants? So, do you want me to dive in on this one? What are your thoughts? Um,
I have thoughts, but of course, but go for it.
well, this is a great question. I'm so glad you asked. And so, the first pro of group coaching with a business versus individuals is the business is bringing all of the clients to you, I presume. So, if you are coaching, like if a company hires you to coach a team in a group, then you just have one sales conversation and you've got all of those clients without having to sell every single person into your group program individually the way I do, because I work with one on one. I work with coaching businesses, but they're solo entrepreneurs. So I'm not selling big companies on my program, I'm selling individual coaches. So I think that's one big pro. Bobbi, do you want to add anything?
I think that I think there's a pro to, I think that, what do I think, Christy? Okay, I think that in a business situation, based on my personal experience, okay, like with corporate and so forth, you've got a lot of different personalities, which you always have with group coaching. But sometimes think about the differences in people that work together versus that don't know each other. And so the con might be you might have some of that with B2C, of some challenges with a group,
Yes.
right? So I agree with you. The business gets it together and can bring the people. Love that. Love that. Marketing's easier. Like you said, getting the business is easier. But it may be a little more challenge as a facilitator,
Yeah.
which could be fun. I like that.
But what if I'm working with my boss and I actually secretly hate my boss and now I'm in a group coaching program with them? I might
Yeah.
not be my
Yeah.
authentic self. The other con, what you said is totally on point. I love that. Another con for working with a business is presumably you're selling to one business. Like the scalability in B2B might not be there the way it is in B2C.
True.
So in some of my
Hmm.
group programs, not all, it depends on how much support we offer. But in some, we could enroll 1,000 people. Right, there is no ceiling in some of my programs, and so that's great. That means there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of potential for us to serve more people. We wouldn't do that if we were serving businesses. They would want us some exclusivity. I wouldn't necessarily be able to enroll 1,000 businesses in the same program. They probably wouldn't like that. So, it sort of depends on how you structure the program and what you're offering, but you might be a little bit limited on how many people you can have in the program at once, depending on what your deal is with the companies in question.
Yeah.
Any other pros and
And,
cons, Bobbi?
well, I do want to say that I think, especially these days, and tell me if you agree with this, I think these days people are valuing more higher touch, right? With AI, with so many things going on in the world, I think that some kind of personal connection is really important. And I believe uh, in a lot of ways, that's what's going to sell. And so if you are doing B2C, you may not be able to do that as much. And again, I like doing that. Um, if they load the program with people who, like you said, Christy, who may not be participating because of different personalities or sort of with structure, it may not be as fun for you, and it may not be as successful for the participants. So I think that's something to think about.
Yeah. So it really truly depends on what you like. I think, as with everything, there's going to be pros and cons to every modality, to every form of delivery. And so it just depends on what we as coaches enjoy the most. And we're all different in that respect. So I hope that answered your question. So thank you, Tolanda Tolbert 8465 for chatting in. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Bobbi, I have another question I get asked all the time. As a new
Yeah.
coach, which should I focus on first, group or private coaching? What's your quick take?
Private. My quick take's private. Mostly because I did it that way. I think that in private coaching, especially if you're a newer coach, you learn so much really getting into the weeds with particular clients. And getting into the weeds means developing exercises, learning how to ask the right questions, giving, feedback in a certain way. You really, I think, develop your skills a lot more and in a much more authentic way when you're working one-on-one with someone. And then you can carry what you've learned through that experience into a group program. Whereas if you start with a group, maybe you're not getting as much feedback, you're not getting as much back to you that you may get with a private client, and you're not learning as much. I think so. That's how I started. I started mostly with it's a long story. It was a long time ago, but when I developed my love school, which was a group program, but it was also relatively small and, of course, pretty high touch. I developed that directly from my experience with private coaching. It was really easy to make that switch.
Yeah. And for me, the same. My career happiness revolution, which grew to be quite large, started off the back of the structure I created with my private clients. So if you are absolutely brand new and you really need to make some money from your coaching business right away, and you do not have an existing audience of any kind in your niche, it might be easier to start with private coaching just for a little bit to get some income in and start to test your ideas out a little bit. If you have an audience, if you love group coaching, and if you're maybe even just a little bit further into your business, so you have some former clients or consults you can use to help fill your group coaching programs in the beginning, you can jump into that. But I would agree with Bobbi, if you're absolutely brand new with nothing and you need income right away, you might want to take a few private clients to begin. So Bobbi, question 3. Or 4, actually. Question 4. We're crushing it today. Was there something you wish you had known about either group or private coaching before you started?
How much time do we have? Right? I mean, yeah, like the day I started as a coach, I knew it all. Yeah, but okay, you probably want some particulars, right? One thing I think that's something, I like the idea of building before you fly. What do you think of that, Christie? That was something I never thought of before I created a program. And what that means, of course, is sometimes, especially with group coaching, and you could do it private as well, you think you have to have the whole program set up and everything together before you launch, before you go. And the build it as, what is it? Am I saying
Build
it right?
the plane as you fly it. Is that right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that. So maybe you're doing a group coaching program, or with private, it's the same thing. And from week to week, you're going to be learning again, which is a key to your decision. And as you learn, you're building the next step. You're creating the next step. You're producing the next step. I think that's something that I didn't get till maybe we went to that really shitty conference in Arizona where we got drunk every day instead. Is it okay that I said that, Christie?
If you guys want to hear a little bit about one of our views on how to host a great live event, we have a podcast on that from many seasons ago. But if you want to hear the backstory of what Bobbi just shared, we do talk about this particular event in that podcast. So go back through the archives and you'll find it. It's all about how to host a great live event. Something like that is the title. I don't have it off the top of my head, but we'll try to put it in the show notes. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put it below this
Yeah.
video. So if you're curious, we'll link to that podcast.
It's
Sorry.
just such a good memory. I don't want to let go of it. But I think I could be wrong, but I think he, and we won't mention his name, was sort of the first time I heard that idea. And I think that's a really good idea, that you work as you go along and you build as you go along and as you learn. And I think that's how you create really the best content and the best experience for your clients.
Yeah, this is something we talk about in the Group Coaching Bootcamp, which is coming up in March. So if you want to work more closely with me and Bobbi and build and launch a group program in 3 days, get on our email list over at coachpony.com, because we'll be talking about it. We'll also do a great free training if this topic interests you. If you're just want to come to the free training, that's great as well. But do go over to coachpony.com and sign up and read our emails coming up, because we will be talking more about group coaching and this whole concept, so that you test and validate your program before you waste all of this time and effort and money on building something people don't want. For me, the answer to this question was, there something you wish you had known about either group or private coaching before you started? I did not understand that you need to reach more people than you think to fill your programs. I didn't understand that a lot of business, coaching and others, are about numbers. And not everyone who sees something of yours is going to want to buy it ever. And only a small percentage of people who interact with you will actually pay you for your service. And so with group coaching, it took me a second to understand, if I talk to 10 people, that doesn't mean 10 people are going to automatically enroll in my program. And I really had to expand my mind and understand and give myself grace, saying, hey, if you want to reach more people, you've got to put yourself out there a little bit more. And if you want 10 people in your program, you probably have to reach 30, or maybe more. And that's okay. And so sometimes you might feel like you're failing as a coach with your first group program because you're not getting people enrolled. But the answer is, you're not failing at all. You just haven't reached enough people yet. And once you change your mindset around that, oh man, you're going to be so much more successful. So
that's really good advice.
Yeah.
And what's the percentage? When I learned what people say the percentage of buyers would be, what is it now, Christie? What is sort of what people are saying?
That's a great question. And so it depends on how you're selling your program. So if I talk to you one-on-one, Bobbi, and sell my private or my group program through a conversation, I think it's still 25% or higher. So 1 out of 4 people will say yes. And maybe 50%, maybe even slightly higher. If it's lower than that, there's probably something wrong with how you're messaging your program or with who you're talking to. But if I'm doing it over, just say email, or maybe a free class, like a free webinar, and I'm not having a one-on-one, it's much, much lower, maybe 3%. So, you really have to keep that in mind as you think about launching and selling your program, how you're selling it. That really does make an impact. And Bobbi, we have one more really great question that I'm going to put on screen right now.
That's such a good question.
Yeah. So
this is something, sorry, may I interrupt?
Please.
I should raise my hand. Because you're going to do it anyway. This is a really good question. And this is something to learn when you're coaching. We get into coachy talk, and we get into things that we know that we forget that our audience doesn't know. And that's exactly an example. Isn't this a good example of that question?
Yeah. So here's our last question of this podcast. So the question is, please explain the difference between high touch versus low touch group coaching. What is the difference between high touch versus low touch group coaching? Do you want me to jump in, or do you want to jump in?
I'll get that. You could pick up when I miss. High touch is an example of low touch coaching. Low touch would be if you have a lot of lecture, right? So if you're speaking a lot and the participants are not really participating a lot, and you know how I talk about, like with private coaching, you get to know somebody much better because there's a lot of conversation, there's back and forth. That's high touch, means you're really getting personal and you're really getting a lot of communication with that client. Low touch is, again, maybe you're doing a lot of presentation, you've got slides, you're doing presentation. There's nothing necessarily better or worse about either, But depending on what you're teaching, depending on what you're coaching about, depending on what you're expecting people to know and to learn and be able to do once you're done, you have to decide whether you need a lot of interaction that you need to learn from them also and help them with specifics, versus do you just need to do more teaching and more explaining and more talking?
And
What do you think?
I agree with that, but I might actually frame it differently. For me, low touch
Okay.
tends to be, it's about support. And so if the program is mostly do it yourself or completely do it yourself, I would consider that low touch. Or if maybe there's a free community, but no real moderation or feedback, that's low touch. In my program, Build a Real Business over at Coach Pony, which I think is awesome, and it's our flagship program on how to start and grow your coaching business, we consider it a high touch group program because the training is pre-recorded so people can, the core training, so people can watch it at their leisure. But we have a Facebook group with a dedicated Team Pony member who's answering questions every day during the work week, so people get personalized feedback. We have live calls every week so that people can like interact with us and each other and connect with us and get help and get feedback and get support. And so that is like an example of a more high touch. Maybe some high touch programs might come with an accountability coach or something else, or maybe even a live event that's in person. These are all different ways to make it higher touch, but the touch means there's more of a live component and they interact more with you or your team and get more hands-on support, even in a group coaching program. Would you agree, Bobbi, with that as well?
Yeah, in fact, I think we kind of said the same thing. You just said it more eloquently as usual. I the other thing is, this goes back to when you're thinking about a group coaching program, how many people should be in that program, not can be. It's not about how many you can sell, but how many should be in that program to really be able to help them in the way that you're promising. So like my over 40 Love School program was very high touch. And in other words, like you were saying, there was a lot of personal support. I heard their stories. I got, very intense with each person. So I couldn't have 50 people, right? I usually had 15 or less. So that's sort of an example too about how this isn't a word, guys, how the touch level, now it is, I made it up, how the level of interaction really should be decided when you're developing a program. It's like really what's going to help them the most.
Yeah.
And by the way, Build a Real Business is truly just the perfect blend of both. That's what I do with some of my coaching is they learn on their own, and then you grab them and you have that like really intense help and support, and to really take that and apply it to your business, to their business.
Yeah.
Wow, perfect.
Yeah. And so thank you for saying that. Anyone wants to join us, coachpony.com/BARB, Barb, Build a Real Business.
Hello.
We'll put it in the show notes. We'll link it down below. But you're more than welcome to join us. And I do want to say you should always be thoughtful about what you think works best for your clients as you design a group coaching program. And it's going to be a little bit different for all of us, for our niches, for the size. For us, part of the reason why the core training is pre-recorded is because I know without a doubt from all of my experience, coaches need to see the training multiple times and have access to it at their convenience for it to really sink in. So if we did all the training live and they like missed it or they missed a piece of it and they watched it later and it was this huge big training, they wouldn't absorb the material in the same way. So that's why, for instance, ours is structured that way. Yes, Bobbi?
I just want to answer this question really simply. Great questions, by the way. How many people should be in your program? Everything starts with, like Christie said, everything starts with the client. Everything starts with what do they need to know and be able to do or feel or see. And once you decide that and you decide how you're going to help them do that, you're going to know how many people is the best solution.
Yeah. It's hard to answer that question without knowing what's involved and what you yourself can deliver. It's always great to over deliver the first time you offer a group coaching program, to under promise and over deliver. So try to factor in a few things, and then you learn a lot from that, and you can size up your time or your team accordingly as you deliver more and more. So taking less people early on is also great so that you can over deliver. And there's no easy answer to this because it truly depends on what you're delivering. Bobbi, go ahead.
One other thing. So sometimes Christie and I go through this all the time. I learned 100 years ago when I was learning to be a teacher and a facilitator and so forth, I learned it's not what you teach, it's what people learn. Right? It's not what you teach, it's what people learn. So this much. Christy and I always talk about this. Like, we know this much about our business and about what people should know. But how much in this program can we actually teach or coach so that they learn what they need to learn? Not so that we get everything we know out, because we would just be blah, 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 blabbing. But do we need interaction? Do we need exercises? Do they need to do extra reading? What else do they need? So remember, it's about what they come out, what you promise, and that you meet your promise, and that they come out of the program with that. And then you'll know what's the right number in order to give them that support.
Yeah. I mean, and to give just a basic answer, start with like less than 10 in your first group of offer if you're really unsure, because you should be able to service that many people by yourself and give them tons of support. And then you can figure out what works from there. But I love that, Bobbi.
Yeah.
And I commonly see coaches, they overstuff their programs with information because you just want to help so much, but usually you're teaching too much. So you can usually take some things away. And with that, Bobbi, I just want to say, if anyone is interested in group coaching, I'm going to do a whole free class on the biggest mistakes, the 5 biggest mistakes that I see coaches make, so that when you do launch your group program, you'll save yourself a lot of time and stress. That class is coming up, I believe, March 5th. So again, go to coachpony.com, get on our email list, pay attention, and we will send you your invitation for that. If anyone's curious and you want more, we'll put coachpony.com in the show notes below this video, or if you're listening on the podcast later, it'll be in the show notes there. So you can sign yourself up, because we have so much more to say about this. And of course, Group Coaching Bootcamp is coming up as well, with me and Bobbi both together. It's going to be super fun. So Bobbi, I want to switch gears for a second, and I want to close out with our business and life tips with Christie and Bobbi.
Mm-hmm.
So business tip from Bobbi. Give us a business tip that's actionable, Bobbi, that our coaches can take and use.
My tip is, try to do what you love to do rather than going with how much money you'll make. I know that may not be realistic for everyone. Like, obviously, we need to make money. But when you're thinking about, do I want to do private or do I want to do group, or what kind of program? I love, Christie's so good at working the numbers. I have always sucked at that. I'm just telling the truth. But when you're starting, if money's not the absolute number one priority, which I get, start with what you love to do, because you're going to be best at that. And that will turn into making more money. If you're forcing something because you want the dollars, people see through that, and you're not going to create the best program, and you're not going to be enjoying your work as much.
Yeah, that's good advice. I like that. And for me, to give everyone a fun life tip, I have 2. I just was on a 2-week trip to the East Coast. I live in California, and I had such a fun time connecting with so many people. And I try every week to connect with at least someone, usually someone I already have a relationship with, but sometimes I try to connect with someone new and reach out and force myself to either build and maintain my network. So just life tip, if you haven't checked in on someone for a while, and like, make it your goal this week to check in with someone from your past, from your coaching certification, from an old group, an old friend, a high school friend, whatever it might be. It really helps build your business and your support network. And then my final tip is, if you haven't watched Tasting History on YouTube, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's a combination of historical events and moments coupled with the food that people ate at that time. It's so interesting. Just going to put that out there, Tasting History on YouTube. And with that, Bobbi, tell people, where can they find you when they're not hanging out with you here?
You can find me at datelikeagrownup.com. And again, at this stage of my business, I'm doing one-on-one coaching. I love it. So go to my website and read my blog and message me if you think I can help you.
Yeah, you guys go to datelikeagrownup.com. We'll put it in the show notes as well below this video. Bobbi's amazing. So if you know someone who needs her help, please refer them her way. And for us, go to coachpony.com. If you need help finding clients, go to coachpony.com/marketing. We have an amazing free training for you all about how to find paying coaching clients in a way that suits your personal style, because what works for me may not work for you. We're different people. So go watch that training. It's free, coachpony.com/marketing. We'll link to it in the show notes. And of course, we've got a free webinar coming up, a free class all about group coaching mistakes. So keep an eye out for that because we only do it once a year. And Bobbi and I will be back in 2 weeks. So if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, you can get notifications for the next live and join us and ask your questions. Because as you can see, we are so psyched to answer them. So thank you for submitting your questions. These were such great questions. And we'll be back talking probably a little bit more about group coaching in our next podcast as well. So very much looking forward to that. So thank you, everyone. I'm just going to play a fun noise to say goodbye. So we will see you in the next podcast.
Hasta luego.